This paper is about volcanic vents in the Caloris Basin, and here's the whole of the basin, and all the vents we've found are shown in red, and I'm going to show you some detail from inside the yellow box next. Here it is, including the southwest rim of the Caloris Basin. There are several candidate volcanic vents just inside of the rim, and the one that we're going to focus on is the one at the upper left of this view. Here it is in the best view seen from Messenger flyby and Head et al.'s interpreted map, and they described it, understandably, as a kidney-shaped vent. And you can see its shape is indeed that of a kidney. Now, when Messenger got into orbit, it achieved much higher resolution. Here's the kidney-shaped vent, with the sun in much the same part of the sky as during the flyby. And what we noticed immediately on this is in the central part of the vent, there's much finer texture, and the vent has several components to it. There are several vents within the brink of this single complex. But with the sun low to the west, we see more detail. In fact, we see there's an extra vent at the western end of the complex which wasn't visible before, and it's no longer kidney-shaped. And here's a third narrow-angle camera image with the sun even lower in the west. And here's a wide-angle camera view of the same complex with less distortion, because this is nadir viewing, whereas the others were somewhat off nadir. So we're dealing here with essentially a compound volcano. That's defined as a volcano where the locus of magmatic activity has migrated to and fro, leaving you a sort of compound vent with several vents within it. These are shown at the lower right of the map at the bottom of the screen here, with individual vents labelled A to I. We think they get younger from A to I. The time span could easily be 1 billion years, very hard to judge. There are several other compound volcanoes or compound volcanic vents in the same area. We'll turn to those shortly, but first let's look at the topography across this first compound volcano. If you look at the red laser altimetry profile on this figure, it crosses the vent complex, and you can see on the topographic profile a depth of over 1 kilometre in the northern part of the vent complex. Then sadly it's too noisy and we don't pick it up again until the profile has passed beyond the southern edge of the vent complex. There are 2 other profiles which are nearby, sort of tangential to the vent complex, and one of those is used on the next slide. This is a laser altimetry profile tangential to the brink of the complex. We've removed the regional slope because the floor of Caloris is tilted, and you see that the edifice is very, very subtle. The high features on the left are wrinkle ridges. The edifice itself is on the right of this profile. It's only a couple of 100 meters high, and it has very gentle flank slopes. So here's a summary. And the thing I want to draw attention to here is that these vents are not flat-bottomed. They're V-shaped or U-shaped in profile. They look like they're excavated explosively, possibly exacerbated by collapse down into an evacuated conduit, but they're not produced by piston-like caldera floor subsidence, such as we see on Mars. Here's a more regional view, and here are the vents outlined, and I want now to talk about the vent in the northeast of this area. We have one laser altimetry profile crossing this. It looks very similar to what we saw before, a V-shaped vent structure lacking a flat floor, occurring within an edifice which is extremely subtle and very shallow. This is a compound volcanic vent. There are several vents confined within a single brink, 3 or 4 at the western end and a broader one at the eastern end, seen in these images acquired while the paper was under review. Structural implications very briefly. We've drawn here a line going along the long axis of our main vent complex. There are some aligned vents to the southeast which are seen here, and here are both those lines. They're radial to the Caloris Basin, and they're actually parallel to the Pantheon fossae graben system visible at the surface near the centre of the basin, and we speculate that these Pantheon fossae fractures persist at depth right towards the rim of the basin, and they could have been the channelways up through which the magma feeding these vents was supplied.